It's funny. You guys should join us in the green room because, like, when we do this, it is crazy. By the way, welcome to the Unnamed Cybersecurity Podcast. I'm Chris. Bob, Carl, and Matt are with me today. Oh wait, it's all four of us. Holy shit,
Yep.
we're together.
Yeah, we paid the ransom for Matt.
And I'm in my home office. I'm in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think we paid for Matt. It was like 1.001% of a Bitcoin to get him back.
Oh,
man. Okay.
Not worth
I didn't.
much.
I didn't participate in the ransom, so don't look at me.
Yeah, he did not pay the ransom.
No, I'll Venmo you something though.
Oh, that's
can
what we're
Venmo you
talking
zero.
about. Sorry, dicks.
Send him dog food. Send him dog food for the new beast.
Yeah.
So Matt got a new dog. Has nothing to do with this story. It's just cool. You want to show your dog off? There he is.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Cute.
That's Ontario.
Apparently, you ran him dead.
Well, I've got four kids that
there are many
played
ways
with
in
him.
Pennsylvania to get a pet.
That is fair.
Apparently, hitting them on the street and bringing them home is one of them.
Well, he was free.
So
Don't ask questions.
he was free. That's a good point. That's a good price. Also looks like a good dog. But
Yeah, he's really good.
we are getting into the fall, folks. We are getting into sports season. So what better thing to talk about than Dick's Sporting Goods?
Yes.
You can laugh at that because it's funny. All right. Last week, Dick's.
Was Dick in trouble?
Maybe we should say Dick's Sporting Goods.
Well, Dick's
before
Sporting
we-
Goods. Yes. Yeah.
We should have a
Yeah.
Dick counter, but it's Dick's Sporting Goods.
Hey man, you can
Sure.
find staples at Staples. Okay, I'll leave that alone.
Never
That's
mind.
a funny meme though.
We're going to call it DSG.
But Dick's Sporting Goods, right? Okay. We've shopped there. Most people know what it is. Unfortunately, they had a cyber attack last week on August 21st. So that's bad. But there was good news. Who wants to say the good news?
They did something about it.
I will.
They had a plan.
There you go.
There, Bob. Go ahead.
They had a plan. If something happened.
A plan? What? Wait, hold on. Are you telling me that they had a plan and they executed the plan and it may have worked? Is that what you're saying?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like leaving home with your spare tire inflated in the car.
If you want to go back to your sports analogy, they had a play and they ran the play.
Yeah, they have a playbook.
What?
So what team we're going to go with? It must be a good team because they must have ran a play that was successful.
Not the Pittsburgh Pirates. Maybe the Steelers this
P-
year.
If the Pittsburgh Pirates want to play, it's going to be defensive strategy. Let's just say they weren't the Browns, and then everybody in Ohio is going to hate me, but that's okay. So they had a plan. They had an incident response plan. They executed the plan. They filed their 8K, and they said that private information may have been accessed, but they're not entirely sure. So I'm sure we'll get a follow up of that. But there's a little bit of data outside of that said, hey, their email systems were shut down and they locked all their employees out. So they went on full lockdown. They went on like serious lockdown mode. So this must have been bad enough where they, obviously their incident response plan was to take everything offline. So Matt, you actually had an experience with that, right? Because you were trying to work with it.
Yeah. They've had my son's bike getting fixed under warranty for a while and weren't answering the phone. So I stopped in last week. I think it was last Tuesday or Wednesday and checked on it. And they're like, I'm sorry, we can't even check on parts we've ordered right now. Like they could do nothing. So, yeah.
See, that contradicts though their no knowledge that the incident disrupted business operations. I'm just
They
saying.
cannot look up parts they ordered, so something is still down.
Just saying. Yeah.
His user account.
Similar to what we saw in CDK, where auto dealers, they couldn't get parts for service centers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't do a lot of things like sell cars.
Heck of a lot of things.
Yeah, at least these
Service
guys can
cars.
make sales. They can. The registers are functioning. They were happy to take my money. They just weren't happy to give me warranty to pick up parts they ordered.
Yeah, I think Ace Hardware had a cyber attack earlier in the year, and their website went down. So I mean, to do what they did, where they got the incident response plan executed and not take the business down, kudos to them for having a good plan. I'm sure we'll get more information out of it too. We can move on to something that's a little interesting. Have you guys heard of Ransom Hub?
No.
Ransom Hub?
Yeah, it's not like the other hub that you're thinking about.
Okay.
Well, maybe. It depends on if you're looking for ransomware.
Chris, I mean, I know we've gone to DSG, but let's keep it as a family show here.
It's a family show. What are you talking about?
Okay.
So, since their inception in February, so this game, the FBI and CISA actually put out like a stop ransomware summary, right? Since February, which they're formerly known as Cyclops or Knight, they kind of spun off. They're ransomware as a service. They sell ransomware to affiliates, typical like Lockbit, like Elfie, things like that. 210 victims since February that we know of. Yeah. Here's the thing. They don't care what sector you're in, they will attack you. Like I think McLaren Healthcare here was actually attacked by Ransom Hub. So a whole healthcare system was attacked. But they've attacked government, IT, communications, manufacturing, transportation, agriculture. Not sure what you're going for there, but hey, whatever. Food, understandable. Emergency services, public health, like all this stuff. Like they just don't care.
Agriculture's infrastructure.
So Chris, I wonder how many of those affiliates are actually disgruntled employees.
You know,
I don't know that for a fact. I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah. Well, if you
Bears
read
to be
the
thought about.
if you read the advisory, it's interesting because they talk mostly about vulnerabilities. So a big one would be Fortinet firewalls, the VPN having a vulnerability. That's one that they leverage. Citrix has their NetScalers for like remote like application access. Again, if you haven't patched it, they're using that as initial access. There's a few other ones. Confluence servers. So if you use like Atlassian Confluence for like whatever, like a hosted site for you, not the cloud hosted one, they can hack that. And there's a few other ones too, but mostly vulnerabilities. That's what they exploit to get in. That's their initial access. And then after they're in there, they do some crazy stuff. Like they're all about trying to use normal tools and live off the land methods, which live off the land just means tools that maybe are built into Windows, so it doesn't look really malicious, or they're just common tools that are used. And their whole point is, again, ransomware. So it's like, get in, evade detection, move around, see what they can elevate to. Like, can we do privilege escalation? We're going to move laterally. It means we're going to move between systems. We're going to try to get to your servers. We're going to use all sorts of tools that are just common. And then we're going to set up maybe like some sort of command and control so we can, get back in if we need to. They want persistence. They want to be able to maintain that even through reboots. And then they do what ransomware does now. They exfiltrate data. So they steal your data. They'll use like S3 buckets for that. They'll use any number of methods that they can do that are kind of quiet that they can try to get the data out, and then boom, hit you with encryption. And then you get the message you don't want to see.
Mm-hmm. Fun begins.
But the thing about this is just like all the things they use, a lot of it is stuff that is just built into Windows. Some of it isn't. Some of it are actually hacking tools, pen test tools as well. So penetration testing tools to like grab like passwords or break passwords or do like something like trick people into doing things. But
and they're also disarming antivirus and other threat protection when they get in there.
Oh, I didn't even talk about that. Yeah. There's something called bring your own vulnerable driver, and Windows has a list of vulnerable drivers, and this a lot of it's print drivers and things like that can be used to elevate privileges. If they can do that, to Bob's point, they can shut down your antivirus. They can shut down your endpoint detection response. Then they become almost invisible. So
Keys to the kingdom at that point, right?
Yeah. So definitely serious. Definitely something you want to take warning to. You want to know about this, and there's an advisory out there. You can, if you want to look at the advisory, that's great. But the point is, most of their initial access isn't from what Bob said about people buying access in the company. It really is just you have internet facing stuff that isn't patched, that has a vulnerability that they use to get in, and once they get in, they start doing what they do. So have patching as a plan. Have a vulnerability management plan where you go through and you make sure things are patched, especially internet facing stuff. And that'll minimize the risk of ransomware getting. Doesn't mean it's going to stop it. This is sophisticated actors that are very good at what they do. But 210 victims is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I looked at the list of victims, and they're all over the board. Some are large companies, some are small. So
I wanted to bring
this
up
is
a,
the world that we live in right now.
I wanted to bring up a scam that's going on.
Yeah, sure.
It's an older one, but we're seeing a new, basically a new step to it, which is we've gotten emails. I've seen them where I had clients call up and go, "I got this email from somebody who said they were in my computer. They saw me looking at something I shouldn't have seen, and they're trying to get money out of me, and they're threatening to send this to all my friends and neighbors about this." So that was they're not in your system. What's happened is they got a password and your email address from some place that had been broken in a breach, like Adobe.com, Adobe or something like that. And the new add-on to this is they're now doing a record search with that email and finding out where your address is. And in the email, what they're posting is a picture of the house and the street address. So if you're not so computer sophisticated to recognize this, and all of a sudden you get an email from somebody, from an anonymous Gmail account or wherever, that says, "Hey, I'm in your computer. By the way, this is your address and your house," and they run the same scam, people tend to get nervous. And the rule of thumb is don't send them. They didn't get there, but they're going to try everything to rock your cradle, as far as or rattle your cage, to make you click the wrong thing, give them money. And once you've given them money, forget it. You think that's the last email you're going to get? You're going to get hundreds of them.
I mean, it's like every social engineering attack, right? They have a level of urgency to it that tries to get you to act. That's just like the number one thing that somebody's going to put. They're going to put a level of urgency on something. I had a business owner once contact.
And the thing with these attacks is, the big thing with these attacks is that they're so easy to launch. And once they automate it, they can send out tens of thousands of these things, and somebody will click on it.
Yeah.
Somebody will pay the fine.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, I went and tracked down the Bitcoin wallet that was attached to one that I received, and I could actually see. I shared it on Facebook. There was like, here's 10 people that have paid into this Bitcoin account in the past. So shit works.
I had a business owner come to me once, and they didn't put a ticket in, and it was an offline conversation. They're like, "I got to talk to you personally." Okay. So we had a conversation, and it was one of those emails. It wasn't the one with the house, though, Carl. It was the one where they say they caught you doing something and recorded you on your webcam.
Yeah.
Visiting certain sites that we won't mention that may have hub at the end of it. But the owner was like super sketched out. Like I'm like freaked out, and that's an uncomfortable conversation to have with somebody, because you're like, well, were you using your work computer to visit said sites? No. Okay, good, because I don't want to know the answer was yes. But it's almost always a scam. And it was the same thing as like what Bob said. It had a Bitcoin address attached to it. I think they wanted like $600 or something like that, 625 or something like that. And then again, I had to talk him through it and like talk him off the ledge, because he was freaked out. Because they're all about urgency. They're all about the scare tactics and things like that. And it's like,
I'm going to report you for. There was a story that I heard a few years ago, going a twist on this, where a high-ranking U.S. official's kid had gone on some site, and I think he was planning on coming out to his parents, but he wasn't ready to.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody sent him an email based on that site getting hacked, saying, "I know you've been to this site. I'm going to report you." So what they did, because they recognized who the email was from and everything else, they made the kid install spyware on his parents' computer and created a compromise.
Wow.
Because the kid was scared and intimidated and under pressure from that point. And and it probably was a scenario of like they weren't in the computer and they didn't know, but they had just gotten enough information to try and extort stuff. And these people, as we all know, are dirtbags.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the. Did you watch the Netflix special on Ashley Madison when they got hacked?
No, I did not.
It's actually
I've
pretty
heard
interesting.
a lot about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not because of the content of the site, but like how many people's lives are ruined from that data, right? Like no judgment here on what people do, but like when you go to a site like that and you're expecting some level of being anonymous, and then suddenly they get hacked and they lied about all the cybersecurity stuff that they were doing, and all your data's out there, and now you're being exposed for what you were doing in your extracurricular activities. How that site is still alive today, no clue. How they would regain trust with people,
It
but
just shows everyone forget.
yeah, really,
Wow.
for real. But it's really interesting. It's really interesting to watch, not for the content of that, but just for like how things were treated at the company, things like that. It's fascinating how just the lack of accountability there is. And they lied. They told people if they paid like $1,000, they'd delete their data, and they didn't. They just took the money. I think it was 1,000. It might be off. I might be off on the number, but they just didn't do it. And so the level of embarrassment, stuff like that would come from that, just wild. I think somebody killed themselves because it came out.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. To go back though, so go back to what Bob said. Bob, was it you and I that were having a conversation with somebody about that, about somebody selling access into companies? I had this conversation. I just can't remember if it was with you. Oh,
We there, Bob?
My internet's going crazy right now.
yeah.
I'm here.
So anyway, I think it was with
Okay, I'm
Bob.
back.
We were talking. I was asking you a question. Was it you that I was having a conversation with where somebody was talking about buying access into companies?
I mentioned it early in this one.
Yeah, no, you mentioned it, but I think you and I were having a conversation with somebody, and I couldn't remember. But we were thinking about this. Let's say you pay somebody $15 an hour to work at your company, right? Let's say it's a low level job. You pay $15, or maybe pay less than that, depending on where you are. If somebody walked up to that person and offered them $20,000 for your account, and you're making $10 to $15 an hour, how many people are going to say no? What if it's more? What if you have a network administrator? What if you have somebody that works in an IT company? One of our employees. What if they get offered $100,000 to give access to a company? How many people would say no to that?
They should hold out for more.
Well, that being said, but I think,
Yeah.
But I think the point is like, we saw this with Tesla. I think some guy offered $1 million for Tesla, but the guy probably had more in stock anyway that didn't do it. But like, you start thinking about low level employees in your company that might have access to certain things. If somebody came to them and you were a target, let's say it was just, like they just came to them and said, we'll give you $50,000, $100,000 just to give me access to your password, and you just walk away. How many people would do that?
Or stick in this USB drive for me.
Or that. Yeah. Could you go stick this in the server?
Liquor tickets or something.
Yeah.
Bottle of booze.
There's a ton of money in initial access brokers. There's a ton in that where that you could get money to do that. And I'll pull
Great
it up.
topic. That's a great topic for next time, and we can go through some of the ways that we've seen people people get access, some of the documented cases, the way people are getting access. But I think we're going to wrap it up for this week. And right now, guys, the real thing we saw from going full circle back to Dick's was making sure that you have an incident response plan, and when something happens, pull it out and use it. That they might have contained a major issue because they took the time to go look at it and thought about it ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to add to that, they clearly had practiced it.
Yep.
They clearly taken the plan and executed it and practiced it like offline. Maybe they actually did a full shutdown at some point, but
maybe that was the practice.
Let's hope not. They executed pretty well though. So, all right.
Later, guys.
Next week.